So yeah, I made it like my night elf portal entry with the trees, and I connected this to a small square room. I wanted to have it in a cross type room, cross type hallway, but I felt that it kind of restricted me in what I wanted to do because I only wanted to cut off these two little corners to make the little pond with the bridge, and to leave these two corners open for me to put some banners in it, to put the bench in where Epi can drop her gear when she comes back from adventuring. She has her fishing poles. So I thought just a small square room would give a lot more option for me to build something with that. Going to the left of that room for now, back in the day, this used to be the bar. So the L-shaped room then gives way to the hallway that I put below it, the hallway being the stable that we all know. I carved this up into 4 little smaller pieces with walls so that I could create 3 actual stables. You see my little wyvern sitting in there. It frees up some space when Blizzard decides that we are allowed to bring our mounts and our pets in. It has a little area for feeding them. It also has a little baby stable for when we have cubs or when we have little baby birds, anything but ducks, because Epi does not like ducks. Somehow people find that funny. This hallway gives room to the evening circle room in which I have made my moon well, the little pond with the lily pads, the overgrown rickshaw, and the Murloc house. Yeah, so that's this side. When we go back to the entry and we go to the right instead, it's hard to see below this big tree, obviously, but this is where the coffee shop is. The closet next to it makes room for the Blood Elf reading area. Below you have the stairs, up here the cozy area with the seating by the fireplace. I don't think you can see it on the other side. Yeah, there's another closet, just minimal. You can see a little bit of that. It's where I built the Asian Pandaren styled window. Then I had to mandatorily put another closet in between because it would not let me fit another daylight circle room next to it if I didn't. And in this daylight circle room, I made my library. Videos of the library are also on my YouTube. Some of you guys have already seen that. I built it way high so that all these trees would cover the top floor, and below you have the sentinel fireplace that people love so much. Oh, leave that room there. So that's when you go to the right. When we go straight ahead, we enter Epi's quarters. So that's just an empty stairwell room. There was nothing in there. I have custom built the stairs to go up to the second floor. On the bottom floor is another closet on the left side, which is where I made my night elf window. I have to still give a big shout out for that window because we've all seen that video from the cottage wizard, how she made it. So that's how I did that. Another moonwell, a little nook under the stairs, and then when you start going up, you come to the second floor. So we'll click that on. It's hard to see because that immediately covers up the rest of that stairwell room because I created the night sky with a hell of a lot of carpets on the top, as you can see. To the left of that stairwell room, we have a large octagon room, which I have carved into smaller spaces by walls to make what was the indoor greenhouse with the portrait of Ilaria in it. It has a little bit of space for the vanity, a little pet area, another moonwell because we never have enough moonwells, another bedroom with a closet behind it to make the window. It's a winter window, so when you look through it, you have those snowflakes coming down, the reading area, the little study area. And then also here on the top floor, but we are immediately met by these big trees. When we go straight ahead, we come into the hallway. The hallway is the carved cave entry to my Harroneer build. So we then come to the last room of this house, which is the evening circle room. You still see the little silhouettes of the Hungarian pergola. It has a lot of space left here because initially I wanted to actually open that room up a bit more, give it more of a wider space cave feeling, but that took away so much from the coziness that I ended up not doing that. I thought the little view through the roof of that cave onto the moon was a better feature for this build. And that kind of contains my alliance house. So it's not very linear, but in this house, at least there is no real good way to go first or bad way to go first. It just depends where you want to go to. So there's no real story being told in this one. It's a general house that needs to give a safe space for some of my characters that I play. Check out the floor plan. Did I just get out of that building mode? Oh, here we go. All right, let's find the entry. Here we are. So we have the entry, which is where you find the tent with the orb that you click to get out of the building. I thought that was a nice feature. Totally removes the ugly door that we get standard. And it really gives that feel that when you come into this house, you're in a pocket dimension. You are not in a standard house. The entry gives way to this hallway, which is the spooky forest area, overgrown. You can see some hints of their used to be life in that area, you know. And this gives way to this first empty stairwell room. It was completely empty as well. You get to the village center here, which also, if you go straight ahead, we get to the bar, but we'll go there later. When you go upstairs on this one, you will go to the second floor already, where you find the warlock house, the little effigies. You have the pergola that has the little rogue den in there. So that's all on that first stairwell room, second floor. But we'll stay on the bottom floor for now. We go straight ahead into the bar. This bar has been made in a square, small room and also been carved up in a few places. Like here, I have built extra walls to create this little kitchen in this nook. Also added a closet to the side where you could see my tutorial for the vampire castle window build. It has a little nook for the fireplace where the adventurers can come to chill, talk about the plans they have to get rid of the Zenlane vampire that is haunting this village. The rest behind the kitchen, I will leave that for now, because if you go ahead, that kind of breaks off the story. So when we go back to the first empty stairwell room, we can then go to the right. This is what I used to call the room org. It's carved up in also little spaces, but not as much to actually make different rooms, but more to give that compressed feeling of being in a narrow alleyway, which makes up the perfect hunting grounds for our Zenlane. We do have the small little building. I figured to at least have one door in there that would lead you into a house that potentially could be there. But when you go in there, there's not really much except for some blood left on the floor, making it all very ominous. There's a little bookstall. as to give the illusion that there has been some life in this village. The hallway comes to this L-shaped room. In here we have used the storage caravan to create a little home with the custom lights that we could see, the little piece of a garden, the fountain, the blood fountain. And then this is here where I made my tutorial for the castle gate. It gives way to the hallway, and in this hallway, it's hard to see with all the trees that overgrow it, is the rose garden. That rose garden then leading into a square room, a small one, and even though it's already small, I have still carved that up into 5 different sections. The main one being the main hall where you enter the castle. When you then take a left, we get to the guest kitchen and another little room which was supposed to be a pantry, but there's no food in there. There's just weapons, which we can only assume the Zenlane uses to store the weapons that she takes from her unknowing victims. The victims that do know that they've been captured get held in this hallway, which is again, even though it's already narrow, been even made smaller still by creating these cells in there. She keeps her victims there. You know, we need to make sure we have food for the week. And then the little room for her guard or minion to keep an eye on the food storage. If one of them happens to go bad, aka die, she then has this little L-shaped room behind it where we find the coffin cellar and the fireplace where she can burn the bodies. Or at least her minion can do that for her. So when we go back then to the small square room with the main hall, we can then go straight ahead. And here we find the Grand Hall. We're on the bottom floor of the Grand Hall, which is where the library is. I would take you to this L-shaped room, but we'll get to that later because that was not part of the original build. That is the extra rooms that I've added to this build for now, so we can make our spring build later in this evening circle room. But yeah, I had to make a hell of a lot of hallways to be able to build that circle room in the back. Good thing I still have budget. Then to the right of the Grand Hall, we get to this T-shaped room, which is just a little hallway. When we go back to the south of that T-shaped room, we get to the L-shaped room, which is the bathroom. You can find that tutorial also on my YouTube to make the blood bath or the wine jacuzzi, which I still prefer as a term. And that one also has a little door that gives way back into that first small square room that I had carved up in those 5 sections, which has the little mirror room where she dumped all her mirrors, and the portal that gives her an escape in case it would be necessary. So going back to that T-shaped room, and we then go to the north, we find another empty stairwell room. That's where I had the fun room with the torture things in it, the study underneath the stairwell, and then up here we will go to the second floor. We find her bedroom, and it gives way to the L-shaped room. Well, I made it now into a T-shaped room, it seems. It used to be an L-shaped room before I created our cozy void elf build over here. But down here is the same stairwell room that we saw earlier that had the Grand Hall on the bottom, but now we're on the second floor of it, the main platform where we had the pipe organ, the little seating area, the griffin, no, it's a wyvern, that looked over the house. So yeah, that is a little bit of my build.